what I think is the promise of open government. And for me, both as a local government politician and an academic interested in politics, I think there are three areas in which at least open government can contribute. One is the deepening and strengthening of democracy that's been mentioned by Peter and others, a movement towards more participatory, citizens-focused democracy, but also in encouraging citizens to take on board the very real constraints civil servants, politicians, ministers and so on do actually face. That's never going to be complete in terms of opening up the books to show why decisions were made, but I think open government is a movement in that direction in terms of not just a top-down provision of big data and so on, but the bottom-up requirement of the, if you like, ultimately the co-production of policy through a more participatory process of democracy. And that leads on to a second issue that I think is the potential of open government, certainly in Northern Ireland, is the issue of the culture of politics and particularly policy making, which in Northern Ireland is particularly acutely affected by a lack of transparency and secrecy, in part because of the conflict and indeed post-conflict situation. But it does seem to be an opportunity with open government for that culture of policy making to perhaps to begin to be shifted in terms of a movement away from the closed nature of policy making up until now. And the final one is, I think, changing the narrative, because nobody is going to be particularly enthused by more data or necessarily more information. But actually what we need to do is start weaving that into, particularly for Northern Ireland, the post-conflict narrative or indeed post-agreement narrative of where, for example, is our civic forum. Can the open government process be a way of at least substituting some of the promises of a more engaged and involved civic society, which has sadly been lacking for quite some time